Okay, so here's how it happens, right? Here's how you detach from linear time. Once you're not driving back and forth to work, to school, to events, to the movie theater, to a job, you start to detach, right? And I don't have kids, so I didn't have that. And I've never had a regular job, well, a little bit, but mostly I had my own businesses. So I was detached from the regular mainstream society my entire life. But living in a car, this supernatural, surreal detachment from linear time is mesmerizing. It is phenomenal. It's wow. You leave linear time. So time becomes about, get rid of that shadow, Okay, when bathrooms open, when you can get into your parking spot for the night. And the day becomes, one day runs into the next of my chosen path, which is extreme beauty. So much beauty that you become numb to the beauty. And when people are like, wow, this is so beautiful, you're like, it is. And it's my everyday. So much lush green and just beautiful air, and madly in love with the water, and madly in love with the air and the wind, and the wind gently rocking, I call, my home. I retracted that. I had a church building for like 10 months, and I'm about 10 days out, we got 10 tens from having that. And I had rented it through May, but I was done. I cleaned it out. I performed miraculous feats. I sit around and I think, oh my gosh, will I have the energy? I'm too old. I'm too weak. I don't know. I just don't know. And then something will come up and I will do amazing things in short periods of time, like physical things I never thought I could even do. Just massive willpower. I think that's to do with my Leo rising and Leo moon, but I just have phenomenal willpower. Sometimes it's so strong that I can't, pull back. Like once I start a direction, I'm like, I just can't. But I've working on perfecting that. But linear time, it's only been, like I said, 10 days, and I'm really only a few days into not having to drive out there and do things and do chores, and to be able to nap and walk and pray and read and study. And I love that lifestyle. I do get, the more and more you do it, you get a little disoriented with mainstream things. Okay. So like, a certain time to be somewhere, planning certain things. It's like, what? My days all run together, and there is no time, and there is no appointments, because I work with spirit, and the people that need to see me just walk up to me, or I just all of a sudden stop and pull in somewhere. And with my church, they just stop and pull in there. People just are drawn to me, and they can't help it sometimes. They just stare at me, and they just can't, they don't know why. And so I don't live in linear time, and now I'm like a few days into this part of it, even though I left my church 10 months or whatever the fuck, 10 days ago. I'm not part of their world, right? So people come to recreate at different locations, but that's my life, right? People choose lives that are so busy, and they think they have to live a certain way because that's how society says, and they listen to doctors, and they listen to jobs, and they listen to the tax man, and blah, 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 blah. None of that is the divine. It can be, it's your experience of it, but they are just so in awe, and they drive these big campers and these things just to get somewhere for like 2 nights, just have peace. And they don't know that they can create that lifestyle every day. So here's what happens when you create that lifestyle every day, which is what I live. you lose touch with reality. Okay, so like Abraham Hicks, the more you focus on reality, the more you get reality. Bills and you focus on what is instead of what you want. And I live a supernatural life. It was about a year ago I started seeing visions of these intense saturated colors. Like there was a fuchsia. Now, that's a Mandela effect. So fuchsia, I guess in this reality might be a green, but in my reality, it's a hot pink. So it was a saturated hot pink. Just phenomenal. Couldn't describe it any better than that, but it's a color I've never seen, and I had envision with my eyes closed after looking at a candle, and then I could have it like just in regular reality. I just see it, regular reality. Well, eyes open looking at other things. And then there was a brilliant, brilliant blue. Kind of like, well, no, I don't even want to show you one. I can't even describe it. It's a blue that doesn't exist in this reality. So, just this saturated, intense, not really, well, kind of a neon blue, a ocean blue, just the most beautiful blue you could ever possibly imagine. And this color saturation was so intense. I never seen anything like it. And that was, so it's been a couple years that I've seen the pink, the saturation of what I call fuchsia. I kind of like those flowers in front of me there, just that hot pink. And then at my church, so about 6 months ago or something, I started seeing the saturated blue, and it would just appear to me. I'd see different, kind of like a mandala, but kind of like, I guess some people might describe it maybe as light codes or whatever, but the pink was like blobs, but the blue, I started seeing different designs and things. And then I'd open my eyes and it would still be there. And that was so cool. And then in the last 2 weeks, I've seen a saturated green, like a brilliant, deep, saturated green, not like like every green you've ever loved. And I love green, right? So you got forest green, you got lime green, you got a fluorescent green, every green you've ever known saturated into one. Oh my gosh, that's interesting, right? So Spirit's showing me that that's kind of like oh my gosh. So that's like 1,000 timelines. So there's 1,000, okay, there's a lot more, but say there's 1,000 versions of me, right? And, you can handle it, right? 1,000 versions of me. And each version of me in each timeline, say, is like a color of green, for example. Now, all of these colors merge together as the timelines collapse to make this saturated, amazing green, because it's one color of green on top of another, on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. And that's so funny, right? I just seen a green Jeep go by when I'm talking about that. There's one here quite often, and a smaller one, but I love that color. And I like army green. I just like all kinds of green. So that's how it is with me, Spirit just showed me. So I've experienced it hundreds of thousands, if not millions and zillions of versions of me. And timelines are collapsing. So it's the best of the best of the best in this amazing, brilliant saturation of everything I've experienced in every timeline, in every lifetime, merging together on top of each other to create this amazing saturated color version. I can see the example clear. I hope I'm explaining it good. But these colors are... Well, they make you cry. They have so much emotion in them because they're so beautiful. And if you watch many of my videos, you know that I'm incredibly emotional at beauty. Like I'll just cry or I'll yell a cuss word. I'm like, oh my God, right? Because the mountains stun me. The eagles stun me. Beauty just stuns me and excites me. And it has my whole life. And how do I know that beauty? Why does beauty invoke emotion in me? And it does in some people and some people it don't. And so, it's just interesting and it's just wonderful. And so, I'm finding now that in New Earth, after, the Great Awakening, we'll call it, the colors are amazing, right? the colors of Mother Earth, the greens, the purity of the color of the water and the air and the animals and the different types of animals and trees that are, people are like, oh, well, we haven't had this species in 100 years or whatever. Well, we moved timelines, right? We moved to another reality. But this is almost like it's the real Mother Earth now. So we had all these overlays so we could practice, much like the mirrored image in the Doctor Strange movie, where we could practice. I'd read stuff years ago about it's like, oh, come on, Mother Earth's not going to let you destroy her, right? It's an overlay to see, just how crazy the humans will get. And boy, did they, right? Until they started doing nukes. And then that was like interdimensional or something. Like, oh my gosh. And so then the Pleiadians, the Sirians, the Orions, they all had to interfere. And especially the Pleiadians, it's my understanding, because the humans were getting a little bit out of control. They're like, oh my gosh, free will. Look how far they went on that or whatever. And so now we're in like the real Earth. And it's said we just entered the sixth sun, so which is called the ether. And that the fifth sun started dying in December of 2012, which would be the Mayan calendar, the great changeover. And it's so interesting, the sixth sun, that's like Native American prophecy stuff too, about the fifth sun. It's kind of like 5D, I guess, or whatever. There's a lot of confusion of all that, and it doesn't even really matter. It's like the simplest way is to think of like a video game of like getting to higher and higher levels. And in which way you want. Some people get more and more into, oh my gosh, let's go to the mall. We can drive to the gas station. We can drive here on the freeway. We can drive there. Their life is about suburbia and houses piled up on each other. They don't really have parks. They don't have water to go visit. They don't have animals, critters. They have freeways. They have malls. They have pavement. They have fast food. And the life to me is absolutely soulless and just leaves me gasping for air. The people that live those kinds of lives, that's what they know. And that's their thing. And so they, in their ascension, if they love that, they go to more and more worlds that are more citified, more pavement. But someone like me, I go into more and more nature. Did you see Oblivion with Tom Cruise? At the end of that, well, it's about different timelines and different versions, and it's pretty cool. But at the end of that, the cabin, I just love. That's kind of my lifestyle. And I remember one time I seen a Star Trek. I wasn't into Star Trek. My mom was, which is interesting. But I never got into it. But I went to one movie with a friend that wanted to see it. And I just loved it. William Shatner was, I think he died in it. And he was in this cabin. And he was chopping wood and, chop wood, carry water. And he had a dog and anyway, turns out, so he had died, but he had went to where he had created, much like the movie What Dreams May Come, right? And the Barbara Marciniak, the Pleiadian channel stuff of that, picture where you want to go when you die, and then you will. If you have this vision of, I'm going to hell, then you're going to experience that. Anyway, back to the William Shatner thing. So his dog that had died, long before just appeared. Okay, he had his dog in that. Same was What Dreams May Come. So your consciousness, when you go on the other side of the veil, you can create anything you want. So you can bring back all the things that you loved. And that was in the early 90s, that movie. And it was so profound to me because, you cross over just like we're in our dreams and you manifest the things that you want to be there, right? So a digital sci-fi world of replicators and do whatever you want and manifest whatever. And he's in a cabin chopping wood and he's got a dog. And that's kind of how I do it. And so I was just sitting here and I just wanted to express to you guys, think of something, I don't even know exactly what, but how something you lift up, something sticky off of something else, and you know how there's like a few threads left as you lift it up higher and higher and higher in those strings. I do shamanic egg healing, and there's a lot of those strings. Anyway, I digress. So that's what it feels like to me, is those strings. Like I'm just kind of detached from linear time. And people say things and I'm like, what? Like I get shocked sometimes, quite often, when I step out of my world and I'm like, what? There's still police. There's still military. There's still people still care about jobs, and you gotta get a job, and you gotta do this, and you gotta do that, and this same society and politics and doctors. And I just get so surprised that the people still live in that world. I've known the other world my entire life, and I just, I'm 50 now, but living like this, I am in such close connection with spirit, with Mother Earth, with the air, the plants, the ether, the plasma. I'm so in touch with this other supernatural world, which is the real world, that I'm disoriented at times that people that talk about doctors and politics and 9-to-5 jobs and careers and college and all of that stuff is so linear time. It's so, and okay, well, we got to get a 5-year plan. Well, bullshit. You can move to anything you want. Okay, well, we're going to move here and we're going to move there, and kids got to go to high school, and kids got to go to this, and kids got to go to grade school, and they're just starting school. And, no, even in my 20s, like I'd met all these families that traveled with their kids and, homeschooled, and I just would never do that. I mean, if my kids wanted to, but kids, they don't know. It's just like you. If you don't put more things on the menu of your life to experience, you're not going to know what you like and what you don't like. And so kids know what they like or what they don't like based on what their parents show them. So they might not know any other options. So, just moving to some other, suburban pavement town because you think it's best for the kids. Well, no, what's best for kids is to get to know the kids, see what they like, and show them adventure, show them the world. Travel around with them in an RV and homeschool so they can get to see different things in the world and different types of people, and they can make their decision on what they want their life to be based on things that you've showed them throughout their life. Instead of just, people just go to work and they come home, they sit on the couch, they watch TV, and they don't really interact with their kids much, don't even know their kids, and don't know that they're all grown up, and they just think, okay, we've got to do this the best. We got to stay married. We got to stay in this town. We got to stay in this house for the kids. It's nothing to do with what's best for the kids. It's the parents being scared, lazy, falling into old programs, like, oh my gosh, we got to stay married because it's best for the kids. Kids feel subtle energies, okay? Take your kids on adventures. Show your kids places like this. I mean, oh my God, I can't even tell you. When I fly into cities where it's just pavement and suburbia and commercial buildings everywhere, I nearly fucking pass out gasping for air. Like I cannot breathe. In places out here like this, when I breathe, it's like quenching the deepest thirst I've ever known. It's a quench in the very air. And, I'm not going to go to places like that again. I navigate them. Like when I fly, I will fly to Kauai again at some point. And probably fly to Ireland again someday, because I have some special family people over there. But but in general, I'm just not, I don't really like to travel. And everywhere I've ever been, I can travel in my mind. I can smell smells. I can conjure up places. I can, when we experience that, then we know. And then when we cross over and we're just consciousness, we can still go back there. Because I can lay in my bed and I can visualize the places I've been. I can see the people. I can hear their voice. I can taste the food. I can drive. I can, and I can make stuff up and feel all that too. So you kind of get these ideas of what you might like and what you might experience, right? I mean, just imagine being nothing, right? Imagine, right? Like source, there's nothing there. You create these worlds and these things and this free will to see what the options are. And some of it's scary and weird, but only if you define what's scary. And I don't know if you guys have watched some of Westworld, but I think that's on HBO. But it's like kind of like that, right? There is no life and there is no death. There's just preference. And we came here to experience. And so, and we're quantum. And every moment has new information to move to the next moment. And this video, audio sort of deal is, I'm going to talk to you a lot more about it. I'm finding it a little interesting to explain, but you kind of think people are, schizophrenic, depressed, crazy, drug, mental illness, all kinds of things. You label people, and that homeless people get that a lot because they're detached from linear time. So they're living more closer to the rhythms of Mother Earth. So if we were given a piece of land, even like a 12-foot square piece of land, we could build something on it and we could make a nest, and that's kind of who we are. But society lives in linear time, right? And they're like, you got to get a job, and you got to pay electric, and you got to pay taxes, and you got to pay rent, and you got to pay who? The system of what? Fake money? Fake schools? It is, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that my opinion, my belief, 110,000%, is that the reason we have school is to dumb everybody down, okay? Past learning to read or maybe basic math, school is absolutely stupid, right? I hated it. I hated school because I wanted to learn. So school would teach me one plant. So say, for example, I went to forestry college. Okay, so you get like 20 indicator plants for the forest floor and what it would be in 100 years, blah, blah, blah. I learned 200 plants, and I wrote a book about it, about the local edible and medicinal plants of Northwest Montana. I find that school, college, grade school, kindergarten, all the way through, dumbs you down, okay? So if you didn't go to school, okay, let's say you did go to school, like from 7 to 10, okay, and you just learned to read and write and math, and then you go right into your trade based on your interests and your passion. I mean, I see 6, 7-year-old boys and girls like that are totally engineers, right? You know, you can watch them by the way they play. So why not start teaching them that stuff young when they can learn it, that they really want to do, instead of like waiting 11 more years and then college and then super college and then master's degree and PhDs and super duper duper duper. And that's all to dumb them down and to avoid actual life. Because if you look at like the old days, without college, you would study, right? So you'd be interested in a topic. You watch YouTube tutorials. You can study. I love to study. If people don't love to study, then they can learn what they love. If they love to build things, people, kids are going to learn just like say there's a video game. You're like, well, you guys can't play that. Well, peer-to-peer learning, they teach each other to play it, and they play these amazing games, and they have these amazing intelligence, way more intelligence quite often than their teachers. And so really, because the teachers are from, they're not new modern day kids, right? They're old school. And so the kids know more than the teacher. So you actually have to hold them back and dumb them down to put a teacher in front of them. Instead of letting the kids teach us and letting the kids be who they are and stop trying to suppress them, control them, and dumb them down, but get to know who they are and then give them the tools to be the highest and best version of who they actually really are. I found, like I said, I fucking hated school. I always wished I'd have quit at 16 and went right to college because it was just dumb, right? We learned, Christopher Columbus, the wrestling coach, taught history, and just because he wanted to be a wrestling coach, right? And I wanted to learn, right? I loved reading and learning. So I would do my regular school, blah, 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 to humor the dumber downers, and then I would go and study for real. So got a little bit of biology here and there. Okay, I would dive into all the aspects that I was really interested in. And during biology, chemistry, whatever class, I was writing stories, and I'd always get in trouble, and it used to fucking make me mad, because when I stopped writing stories, so I could read and write and listen to the lecture, but when the teachers made me stop doing that, I couldn't hear the lecture. I was so fucking bored at their dumb shit that I didn't understand, that I didn't listen to any of it, and then I started getting C's. because I didn't fucking care. It was so stupid. And I was learning real stuff. And so not to pass their dumb tests, right? And so, but when I could read and write while I was listening to the lecture, you know, writing stories. I remember this one about the guy who didn't have a face or whatever. And my cousin was sitting next to me. She's like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I write stories through the whole lecture and then I get straight A's, right? I was valedictorian. They don't know how people work. And I think some days, well, today's day, I'd have been on Ritalin, right? They'd have diagnosed me with ADD and tried to really dumb me down or whatever. Because I had a super duper mind. And everyone does. It's just a matter of how you're dumbed down. And I remember I had an 8-year-old cousin a zillion years ago. I don't know, like 15 years ago. And he was smarter than everybody around him. So he's like, well, I'm smarter than everybody around me, so why bother? You know, he was channeling stuff. He knew stuff. And so when you're smarter than everyone you're around, then you tend to just give up, okay? So obviously, that is that smart is subjective perspective, right? Because you know what? Trivia, or you know certain things that people around you don't. But so then strive to learn more, strive to be around more, or just let it happen and let it come to you. And don't push yourself around, you know, just be quantum and just kind of keep going into the moment. I'm a dog in Chinese astrology, so I kind of just lope into things and you know, but back to the frickin' point of the video. She goes on so many tangents, that girl. I don't live in linear time. And I don't want to. Sometimes I set appointments for things. You know, like I have an appointment in a couple weeks in Port Angeles. And then, you know, you get yourself certain things like this crystal. You don't have to go into the sink. It's too big to be driving out on the main highway, right? Getting some sort of you know, because you got the recreators and they're violent recreators, right? So they got campers and they got, well, all kinds of RV type things. And they barrel down on me. I'm going the speed limit and they finally pass. They endanger everybody just in a hurry to recreate. And so Port Townsend's on the Olympic Peninsula, but the main roads, like when you drive out to Port Angeles and stuff, people are fucking crazy. And they say, don't let cars pile up. 5. How in the hell is that a thing, right? Because I am going the speed limit and being pushed to go over the speed limit. 5 cars are always behind me because people are neurotic and they get right up on your tail and all this to go and recreate. And like down here at Fort Worden, it's just places like this and Fort Flagler and stuff are just insane because they'll hurry, they'll tailgate you, they'll push you around just to get to a dead end so they can get out and have some peace standing on the water. What? And then they zip away to another thing. It's like you find it within, but linear time is push, 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 push. But when you live in a world where there's no time, there's no hurry, there's no push, there's just this now moment, and then the next now moment, and the next now moment. No appointments, no people to answer to. And once you're out of that system leaves you alone. But you have to let go of that system. You know, it's a very addictive system too. Anyway, so to sum up, it's so surreal to me to be outside of linear time and to be in a world where I just move from place to place based on my own whims, based on light, based on parking, based on restrooms, based on basic nomadic survival. And living in a car does that. Had I not lived in a car, I would not have this mad, passionate love affair with the water. Yes, I walked on the beach. I hung out on the beach. When I lived in a house here, I come down and I have my lunch on the beach or a picnic table or whatever. But the life of kind of almost being forced to, you know, be on the beach all the time. You become part of the beach and part of the mountains and part of all that is, and you detach completely from linear time. And then when you run into people in linear time and what's important to them, it's shocking sometimes. It's like, What the fuck? How in the hell is that a thing? Why in the world is that important to you? And they're so far from divinity. And, the cities, oh my God, right? Just pure hell to me. Just being in a hotel on the freeway and just zoom, zoom, zoom. And that's their life every day. And that's their jobs. And that's what they do. And they drive from suburbia and they get on a freeway and they go to their job. And then they drive to, these stores. And it's just all plastic and phony and cement and soulless to me. That's what they know. And that's what their life is. But to me, that's some sort of a simulated overlay you could do anywhere. It's nothing to do with Mother Earth. And anyway, I'd like to just shut up now. I think I'll shut up now because I'm so far out of linear time that I'm like, whoa, like this. It makes you drunk. It makes you high. It makes you, like, I haven't ever taken DMT, but it's what I imagine to just lift out of reality that people think is reality. Being homeless does that because it reprioritizes what actually matters. Anyway,